Welcome everyone to Lawrence and the campus of the University of Kansas as the West Virginia Mountaineers take on the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Lineups right there. Aaron Harris is a good-looking freshman and the top scorer on the Mountaineers. And a lot of good stories, Jim Spinarco on the Jayhawks.
They sure are, Kevin. You look at Johnson, who's coming off a great performance against Iowa State. He is playing his most confident basketball for a very solid, talented Kansas basketball team.
Our officials this afternoon, Mike Stewart, his 15 NCAA tournaments amongst the best among all officials. Doug Sermons, who's officiated in 4 regional finals, and Keith Kimball has been to the tournament twice. Kansas comes in having won 5 consecutive games. The Mountaineers are very disappointing, 13-15. They have lost 3 straight and 4 in their last 5. Allen Fieldhouse is rocking the 196th consecutive sellouts.
Great atmosphere to start this game. The hour before, they're up to no good, these fans already, Kev, ready to roll.
Here they go, and here is Elijah Johnson, the 39 points at Iowa State, one of the best single performances in college basketball this season. As he works it inside, then out to Relaford. A good-looking shooter from outside with a high shooting percentage, and Kansas chases down the loose ball.
And this is where they're spreading the floor, very comfortable, especially with Johnson with the attack.
Relaford. Young trying to set a string. Kalichwa inside, knocks it away. He'll be patrolling all afternoon long. Kansas and Kansas State tied atop the conference. Kansas has won both against the Wildcats. If Kansas wins out, they'll win their 9th consecutive conference title.
And obviously very, very important for this team. That's something special to continue with that dominance in the Big 12 conference. It's very special. They want to win that conference outright.
Mountaineers in the Big 12, and this is their first year in the Big 12, 6-9. First trip ever to Lawrence.
Yeah, it's been difficult for them trying to get there as Kalichwa walks on that one. Trying to get their legs with the transfers and get some consistency. They've been only shooting about 40% on the year, Kevin, so it's been a difficult year for Bob Huggins' squad.
Bob Huggins has only had 2 losing seasons in 30 years as a head coach. But right now, really staggering. They lost Wednesday in Morgantown to Baylor by 3, but I think that Huggins found some positives out of that game. Thought they played very hard.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's one of the things that he likes about this team.
McLemore, the freshman from St. Louis, who has been the talk of college basketball, and here comes Staten the other way with Kalichwa like a lead blocker. Young is on Kalichwa. Nice move by Dennis Kalichwa, senior from Istanbul, Turkey.
108 career games, Kevin, and one of the things that he has done so well is he uses that offhand, the left hand in traffic in particular. Little jump hook there away.
Here's McLemore trying to take it down the lane and fouled on the play. It looked like perhaps Humphrey is the one to pick it up. And there's Bob Huggins, who is now in his 6th season as the head coach at West Virginia. Was at nearby Kansas State for a season, Cincinnati for a long 16-year run. The son of a high school basketball coach.
That always helps. There's no question about that, right? He's had 25 career road conference wins in his 5+ seasons.
Elijah Johnson dialing long distance. Again, the 39 he had on Monday, picking up right where he left off.
Yeah, and he took over from that standpoint. He was tremendous down the stretch in that game, shooting it well and obviously leading his team. Shoots the ball from 40% on threes, and Bill Self said he's playing his most confident basketball right now.
The freshman Harris, here's the senior Kalichwa, and then Humphrey with a 3. And a good-looking shot outside for him with the Mountaineers back up by 2.
Another guy who can shoot the ball from long range.
Kansas and West Virginia have already played this season in Morgantown. There's a shove into Withey, who misses right on the doorstep.
Good entry pass, though, away from the defender. Withey has to come up with that bucket.
In that game in late January, as Harris will unleash a 3. Johnson defending. It was a 61-56 Kansas win. Kansas missed 16 free throws in that game, and West Virginia took 17 more field goal attempts in that contest.
Well, I think one of the things they want to do right now, West Virginia, is make sure the tempo, as they turn the basketball over, keep the tempo under control.
Humphrey. Harris gliding in. Young got a hand on it. And digging it out is McLemore. West Virginia will be called right here with the foul 3 minutes into the game. And a foul. There's 50-year-old Bill Self. He's averaging 33 wins per season his last 6, and that's the second foul going on Humphrey. Bill won his 500th career game, and he's had a wonderful record at Oral Roberts in Tulsa, Illinois, now here at Kansas.
Yeah, just really consistent with this team, and I think the one thing that Bill Self really likes is the fact that these guys, they had that little bump in the road. They lost 3 in a row, kind of got disoriented a little bit, but bounced back after that. And the consistency is starting to build for them. And guess what, Kev? I think the 5 or 7 games before, as we go upstairs, is a good time to be consistent.
McLemore will put that in, his first 2. Beautiful outside pass. As Kansas, might be peaking at the right time. A lot of people have them as one of the top seeds. There are 4 number 1s, and people have them as one of the 4. Little shot outside here by Staten.
Basket by Juwan Staten.
Juwan Staten, sophomore from Dayton, Ohio, and a transfer from the University of Dayton. This place can be overwhelming. As you mentioned, it's the first time the Mountaineers have played in the building.
Well, yeah, one of the things about it, and that's what I was concerned with from a West Virginia standpoint, Kevin, coming into this building, and maybe that they would rattle early, especially the younger guards, and make mistakes. And I think you'll see Kansas kind of, I would think that they may up tempo, and here they go. They're extending just a little bit to try to get a rattle, try to get what we just talked about in terms of the transition going for themselves.
McLemore is going to take his seat. Nadir Tharp has come in for Kansas, the sophomore from Worcester, Massachusetts. Aaron Harris from Indianapolis, Lawrence North High School. And they've produced some pretty good players over the years. Kalichla. Nice decision. And goes outside with an errant pass. And he was aiming that time for Terry Henderson. West Virginia with a 2-point lead. We're just into this one. The Mountaineers, the Jayhawks on CBS.
What's truly amazing about Mercedes' new Embrace 2 system is I can follow all my sports, catch the latest breaking news, keep in touch with friends, follow the financial headlines, find a great restaurant. And with SiriusXM, I can get weather forecasts. All from here in my Mercedes-Benz.
Introducing Embrace 2, the most comprehensive, cloud-based telematics system on the road. It's your world from your car. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
CBS Sports College basketball coverage is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer. By Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. And by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. Early on, number 6 Kansas at home down. Monday night at Iowa State names Bill Self looking for his 500th career win. Elijah Johnson scored 8 points in the final half minute of regulation. Then put in another 12 in overtime, finishing with a career high 39. Kansas went on to win 108-96, giving Bill Self win number 500, and that game ball was presented Jim Spinarco before our game here this afternoon.
500 wins. He is 95% from a home standpoint on this floor.
And you can see some of the other milestones this season. John Beilein at Michigan. Tom Izzo with win number 200. That put him in Big Ten overall context behind Katie and, of course, number 1 Bob Knight.
Tubby Smith on our board also there. So Bill Self It's hard to believe, though, when you think about it. Kansas basketball here with Bill Self doesn't like to lose here, Kevin. So 95%. He's 159-8 on his home floor here at Kansas.
When they were talking about some of his influences, he mentioned Larry Brown. He was a graduate assistant here. John Calipari, by the way, in Kentucky was right before Bill. So that's,
there you go.
Two pretty good guys in that graduate program.
You're not starting to name drop on me now, are you?
Oh, buckle up, way down. Here comes Johnson looking inside for Withy. Noreen was right there and knocked the ball away and picks up the foul. Hey, fans, baseball season is almost here. Get ready by moving your fantasy league to the site that's won 10 Best Commissioner Awards. Visit CBSSports.com/baseball to get started. We got our lineups and set our teams like Jim. So we were talking about spring training baseball here before our game today.
We're ready to roll.
Johnson, he's already hit 3 from way outside. He fans right there. Weathering the early storm for a visiting team important in this place.
Absolutely, and I think West Virginia's done a nice job at that up 7-5 here, but more importantly, I think defensively, Kevin, they're doing a good job of collapsing the floor, and by that I mean to really squeeze from the weak side to the power side.
Here's Noreen, who puts up a shot from way outside Kalichla. Nice rebound, but look at the Kansas activity on defense. Tie-up right there with Kevin Young, who's a senior. In fact, they start 4 seniors, including 3 fifth-year seniors on this Kansas team, amongst the most mature teams in college basketball.
And I think that's one of the things that I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's one of the things that's going to help Kansas as they build. You know, like I mentioned a moment ago, 5 straight wins, starting to get that rhythm at the end of the season. And I think it's important not to wait for your conference tournaments to build consistency, but get it going 5 to 7 games before then. And they are right on the money with what they're doing now.
And Jimmy, you just don't see that many seniors starting in college basketball.
Yeah, and that experience is, you know, they've weathered some storms. They've been around. They've been able to react to that 3-game losing streak that they had recently.
Henderson with a 3, and he knocks it down. Now, Iowa State had 17 threes on Monday against Kansas. If there is any flaw here for the Jayhawks, and they've got some, it's 3-point defense.
Right, and a lot of times the teams will shoot the ball because of Withy's presence down deep. So the ability to keep it on the floor and get Withy, if you can, get him out of the middle of the floor.
McLemore started, and we mentioned before, Tharp has now come in, screened by Withy on top, pick and roll, pick and pop here. Withy.
Nice little jumper there by Withy, who's really improved his game. We know him as a defensive player, but boy, he's stepped it up offensively also.
Henderson with another 3, and he pops that baby in. The freshman from Raleigh, North Carolina. He is their best 3-point shooter.
38% on the field from the 3-point stripe for the season, but 43% in conference games, so he's been on a roll.
Rutherford with a 60% shooting mark. That is number 1 in the Big 12, but he's missed a couple here early for KU. With a drive right here, and Tharp will pick up the foul for the Jayhawks. The first on Nadir Tharp.
Well, take a look here. Just a little pick and then the pop right over to that side. Nice work. And Withy doesn't slide. He doesn't move at all. And down the other end of the floor, you get a little loose opportunity. And Henderson shooting the basketball from long range, sometimes off a broken play, Kevin. That's when you get your best looks, especially from the 3-point stripe.
McLemore is in, a freshman. Perry Ellis has come in for Kansas, another freshman. Eric Murray's going to come in now for Noreen, and Jabari Hines will come in the contest. And he'll take Aaron Harris's spot, so changes on both sides.
Yeah, Murray had 17 points in that first game against Kansas, so ready to roll against them. We'll see if he can bring it to the road.
Some good 3-point shooting here for West Virginia early. Murray.
Yeah, look at the extension now. Because of what you mentioned, Kevin, the threes.
A little flat on that shot, fanned right there by Eric Murray, who's a junior from Philadelphia.
Big guy at 6'10", but he will shoot that ball, shoot it okay, a little over 30%.
So the Mountaineers in Big 12 conference play, 3-4 on the road, 6-9 overall. We were talking before the game, West Virginia has started 12 different starting lineups, and they've had 12 guys who have started at least 2 games.
Yeah, and that's why they've had some problems this year. A couple of reasons being one.
Ellis, and a foul. We talked about the 3-point shooting of the Mountaineers.
Yeah, if they can spread the floor, they're usually in pretty good shape when they do shoot it. And the one thing about them is they're confident from the outside. It's a long way to travel for West Virginia, which is one of the things I had a chance to speak with Bob Huggins about. This team, West Virginia, in the new conference, Kevin, is averaging about 1,000 miles per road trip. whereas in the Big East it was closer to 400. So the travel is one thing. The time or lack thereof of preparation for a team like West Virginia has been difficult this year, especially with the new faces.
Murray picked up his first personal foul for the Mountaineers. It's worn on that basketball team. The geographic footprint really doesn't fit. The nearest Big 12 school for West Virginia, 800 miles away.
Some decent frequent flyer miles that I don't think they're getting.
Riders, everybody else enjoys it, but not the team's second foul going on Tharp, and so he'll quickly exit. But, you know, 9 road trips, it's a very, very difficult thing for this team to weather. And I think that this Big 12 has said that they're going to adjust the schedule a little bit next year now that they have a feel for what they've got to go through.
Well, think of the Pac-12, right? When they play those like Thursday, Saturday double headers.
That's a good point.
So they're probably going to have to put something together to make it a little easier for them to deal with that, because it is totally unfair compared to the other teams in the conference.
Just past the 13-minute mark here in the first half from Lawrence. Henderson has hit some threes already. Murray. Little drive inside by Hines. Can't get it to go. Kalichwa is inside. And some grinding in there for the Mountaineers with a foul, and it goes on Terry Ellis of Kansas.
The other thing I mentioned, it's easier to get a shot from the three-point stripe on a broken play. The best time to have an offensive rebound is on an air ball, because defensively, you're looking for your guy to block out initially, and the guy on the offensive end sees where the ball is going, and Kalichwa right there with his strength, banging people around too a little bit. It's about 270 or so.
Biggest lead for West Virginia right now over Kansas. Just the fact they've got this kind of lead extends the game for them a little bit in a place that can be, as we mentioned before, very overwhelming. Johnson with the drive. Kalichwa was there, and Murray knocking it away. Nice defense on that play.
I like the fact, Kev, that there's 2 guys going after the block shot, so helping one another out, especially the big guys. When a guard has the smaller guy has the bigs moving around, it's usually a better time to attack. Good work there, though, by the double bigs for West Virginia.
Here's McLemore. Ellis. Wow, is right. My goodness. 15 on the shot clock.
Well, watch the double teaming action, right? First guy steps in, he does the dirty work. The second guy comes in and gets all the big-time splash, but great work underneath.
Now, Murray only played 4 minutes the other night against Baylor. Kind of got in the doghouse, and there's a turnover right there. Hines with Johnson defending for Kansas. Henderson picks it up, stays alive. Full shot clock. Harris by Maxwell.
Watch out.
He tried to go high, climbing the ladder. Ellis picks it up. Here they come. Relaford.
This possession, Kevin, is very important. Yep, you don't want to turn it over, because here we go again.
McLemore.
That's a good foul, too.
It was.
The activity. Now, all of a sudden, there are some people in this building. Great defensive effort to save it. And what does it do? It gets West Virginia playing a little quicker. Here's the challenge defensively. And then off they go, because now they want numbers. And really, this is a 3-on-0 break for Relaford, finishing it off.
Jayhawks close to within 5, just beyond the 12-minute mark here in the first half from Lawrence.
All the sports you love, 24 hours a day. The 24-hour home of CBS Sports. CBS Sports Network.
Canvassing college basketball, teams have better step up. Cincinnati has lost 5 of 6, including a bad loss at Providence. The Temple Owls, you'll see them next week on CBS, are in their 20th win Thursday. They've had bad losses to Duquesne, St. Joe's, St. Bonnie's, and Alabama, 19-10. But they've lost to LSU, Auburn, Tulane, and Mercer, and these all do add up.
Oh, they sure do. You look at Luke Hancock with a big one today, huh, in that win at Syracuse, and Eric Murphy playing well. A tough loss for Alabama, because, Kev, even though they were doing well in the SEC, a little bit of trouble for them right now.
West Virginia here has had a lead as great as 7. Kansas had an early lead of 1. West Virginia so far +6 in three-point shooting, +6 points there. They've had a couple more rebounds than Kansas. And here's Ben McLemore at the free throw line, a redshirt freshman out of St. Louis. He was a partial qualifier, so last year he practiced with the team but could not play with the team.
Terrific talent. Great jump shooter, glides when he runs up and down the floor, but one of the other things about him too, Kevin, 2 out of the last 3 games, he hasn't reached double-figure scoring. And when you think about it, that's what they need. They need him to be a little bit more aggressive. As you take a look at the comments on him, mentioned that he's a glider. Beautiful shot from the outside, but that 3rd bullet point right there. Get a little bit more aggressive. Only 4 times this year that he didn't go for double points. I think they're going to need him down the stretch of the season.
Well, there's a lot of great players out there in college basketball. Maybe not the deepest, but there are some headliners, and he is a headliner, and a lot of teams interested in him.
Yeah, no question about it.
At the next level.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this set right here for West Virginia.
Henderson over McLemore. Withy trying to grab it, and does. Withy is number 1 in the conference in block shots, number 3 in Big 12 rebounding.
I like the defensive effort so far by West Virginia. A lot of helping out. Rutledge may have grabbed them.
Well, Wednesday on Survivor, one tribe is united, the other is divided, plus a medical emergency will take someone out of the game. The new Survivor coming your way Wednesday only on CBS. Foul goes on Rutledge. This will put Relaford at the free throw line for the Kansas Jayhawks. He had 19 at Iowa State on Monday. In fact, the last 4 games, Jim Spanarkel, he's averaged 16 points. Talked about it, good shooting. 64% is his accuracy lately for KU.
Just one of those glue guys for them. Really works hard, good defender from the outside, and also, you know, as you mentioned, Kevin, really picking up his scoring as of late. And a guy, when he shoots the ball for a consistently high field goal percentage, so much the better for Kansas.
A lot of people feel Kansas, again, playing their way back to the number 1 seed after that 3-game losing streak.
I'm kind of right. I think it's going to be a moving target, the number 1 because it's so close and there's so much parity right now, but I think they're inching their way towards it if they finish strongly.
Nice entry pass and knocked off of his horse that time. Relaford going at the freshman Aaron Harris. Relaford picks up his first. Kansas right now on a 6-0 run since it was 16-9 with West Virginia on top. And here's an interesting kid at the line, Aaron Harris, and Jim mentioned this earlier, 25 against Baylor on Wednesday. He is the leading scorer. He leads them in Big 12 scoring. And he went to Lawrence North High School in Indianapolis, a freshman, as you said, and they've had some pretty good players. You mentioned this before, Eric Montross and Greg Oden and Mike Conley Jr. played at that same school.
Yeah, they worked those names for me, and as a Frosh, this guy's got a bright future also. Knockdown 3 shooter, and I think one of the things he has to work on is just hitting the weights a little bit sometimes, and that was an example of it. Push just a little bit to the right off that curl screen from the top. A little bit more strength. I think you take those shoulders and throw them towards the basket a little easier. One
of the key recruits for Coach Bob Huggins, and it's hard to believe sometimes when you look at what they've done this year with their record below 500, but just 3 years ago, West Virginia was in the Final Four.
Absolutely, and that's why I think it's been a trying year for them, because I think overall, Huggins, I think, quite candidly, thought they would respond a little bit better than what they have.
Kolichla watching Withy. McLemore.
That's a great looking jumper. The mid-range game also one of the things we didn't speak about too much with McLemore, but that ability to put it on the deck.
McLemore's got 6. Kolichla keeps it alive. Noreen is back out there working on Ellis and finding Harris, and Kolichla was going up there for the rebound, and a foul goes on Kansas at the 10-15 mark here of the first half from Lawrence.
Well, you take a look out front. There's no pop out defensively, so a little slow down defensively by West Virginia in terms of not helping out. Kolichla has to stay back in case they drop that down to Withy. And McLemore just too good one-on-one.
Young back out there for Kansas, and Traylor comes in for the first time. That's a good-looking shot outside, and again hit by the fearless Aaron Harris out of Indianapolis.
Playing well in the Big 12 games also. Even with that travel, he's averaging about 12 a game in conference play. Great-looking stroke for him also. And as we just touched on, terrific upside. There's
Traylor. Again, right on the doorstep. And finally clutched down to by the aforementioned Harris, and he'll come racing the other way. Swerving into the defense, knocked away and out of bounds by Kansas. This West Virginia team has had a nice string of NCAA appearances. They've made 5 straight, 7 of 8, but they're going to be in trouble making it this year.
Yeah, and I think what Bob Huggins is trying to do, even though it's late in the season, is still trying to build some consistency and confidence with this team. And so far, in the first 11 minutes or so, have done a nice job here at Kansas.
Staten.
Yeah, he's got to make good decisions.
9.5 to play in the half. Kansas, #1 in college basketball in field goal defense.
Yeah, you can see it right now.
Clock is at 6. Humphrey's got to put something up here. McLemore. The transition game. Bob Huggins is the third winningest active coach, right back at Krzyzewski and Boeheim. And third foul right there going on Humphrey.
The 17th foul on West Virginia.
He picks that up. The Bob Huggins, who was the year at Kansas State when he was there in Manhattan, they went 10-6. But, you know, he grew up in Ohio and in Morgantown. He was born in Morgantown. He played for West Virginia. I mean, he, if anybody is invested more in that school, I don't know more than him.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I go back with some history on him, too, Kev, in terms of playing against him when we were both in college. And I mentioned that to him a couple of years ago. And he said, you know, we beat you when you came to Morgantown. I said, yeah, Morgantown was a tough spot. So one of the researchers grabbed a box score of the game. And I think I outscored him 9-7 on the turnovers.
Something that you
quietly
are so embarrassed about, even as many years. He was a terrific player. He was the Ohio High School Basketball Player of the Year. And you mentioned this before. His dad was a high school coach. Nice play by Young. Yeah. McLemore has scored 6 of the Jayhawks' last 8. And Tharp back in there, man in the point. And here he comes out trying to run the offense.
I told him it was a down year in Ohio basketball that year.
You guys both look pretty good. Young to Rippy.
Young is getting a little bit more active for this team also at the offensive end. Against Iowa State, they let him shoot a couple of shots to start the game. But look at the work that Whippy's doing. Kalichka bites on it. He has to help out because Noreen can't keep him off the bounce and making his drive to the basket. So good work there by Kevin Young.
Noreen picks up his second personal foul. Whippy transferred from Arizona, last year's Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and he has more block shots in his career at Kansas than any other Jayhawk, and that's saying a lot, and any other Big 12 player in the short history of the conference. Nice shot there again by Aaron Harris. 6 for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, and Harris didn't seem to have that balance. Tharp with a little drive here.
Whippy from Tharp. So Whippy, you're right, beginning to chisel his way and stake his claim inside.
And what he's doing, Kevin, is what I refer to as just tracking the basketball. A lot of big guys forget to look at the ball, and it's a simple concept, but he's watching it, he's tracking it, and the ability to finish. It's a nice combination with the guard play.
Litchfield trying to go outside. Little two-man game there, playing along with Staten. And out of bounds it goes. Yet West Virginia finds themselves only down by 1. They've led by 7. About 8 to play in the first half.
It was designed to escape the ordinary. It feels like it can escape gravity. The 2013 C-Class Coupe. Starting at $37,800.
Are back in Lawrence, and of all these numbers, the +8 second chance points stand out for the Mountaineers.
That's the work they're doing on the offensive glass, which is good. And I think overall, when you think of it, Kevin, they've held their own pretty nicely here on Kansas's home floor.
Well, Withy is trying to now make his presence felt inside.
Yeah, I think that's one of the adjustments Bill Self made on the fly in terms of trying to dump it down to the blocks, get a little more activity on the blocks, and work it inside out.
It's got to be daunting for an opposing team to come in here. You know, I think Self in his 10 years has only lost 8 games in this building. Won this year to Oklahoma State, but nonetheless very, very difficult. Hard to overcome all the different things this building holds.
And I think that's one of the things sometimes college kids get too hung up on. Oh, we're going into this particular facility to play. It's a tough place to play. You have to really condition yourself mentally to almost forget and let the fans' energy play into your favor. It's difficult to do because everything is so tight here in this building. A little like Cameron Indoor, where I spent some time.
You did. Here's McLemore with a 3. Well, he's got the stroke this afternoon. McLemore's got 11. You were talking before. He's been staggering just a bit scoring-wise last couple games.
Absolutely. The last 3 games in particular. It's a terrific-looking jumper, though, and what I watch for is the ball in the rotation. He's got beautiful rotation on his shot. Nice ball fake.
It was. But again, right underneath, they can't get it to go with Rutledge. And again, the tussle on the floor. So now the biggest lead for the Jayhawks, and it comes at the 7:20 mark of the first half. Kansas tied with Kansas State atop the conference. And if Kansas wins out, they'll win their 9th consecutive Big 12 title. You have to go back to the days of John Wooden at UCLA to find a major conference team that has had that kind of string of success.
Yeah, it is an amazing story that Kansas has put together here, and they have it on the boards, and they know how important it is to them.
McLemore again.
See how quickly he gets off the floor, Kev. He comes across that screen just then. It doesn't take much for him to get a strong shot up.
No one averages in double figures for West Virginia. That's one of the more remarkable statistics I've seen this year. No one in double figures.
You were just reading my mind on that number.
Marine outside, he can't hit.
It's amazing when you're struggling. Things like that pop up. Nice hands here.
Well, they're playing hard, that's for sure. Harris with 2-on-1. He'll try to slither. Withy knocks it away. Rutledge comes up with it. Another block by Withy. Number 3 in college basketball on block shots. But they still have the ball, and that's all that matters right now to West Virginia.
Withy deceiving, too. He's long, and he's quick with his footwork. That makes the difference in terms of his 7-footer, just being able to get there. Some 7-footers lumber around. He doesn't.
Withy did not have a block shot up in Ames on Monday.
Right.
You mentioned that before about the 3-point shooting. Hines.
Woo. That's where you can rebound it, though. Yeah, this is an air ball is all you need right on the road. There's Withy right there defensively. And there's the reaction again with some help by Young on the left side of the glass.
West Virginia starts 5 of 8 from the field with a couple threes. They've gone 3 of 16 since. And Relaford will come in for Tharp, and 3 seconds on the shot clock and 6:02 in the first half.
And you look for the first or second pop guy to the left or a slip cut. Nice ball fake.
Oh, it was Harris. Well, they got a pretty good shot, a clean look. Johnson shoving away, and that will be a foul, I think, on Rutledge inside. Or is it just out of bounds? Just out of bounds is all it is. We talked before about Bob Huggins trying to find, you know, players that will play from. They've had 11 different players average 11 minutes. 10 have started at least 2 games. And he says, he goes, you know what, I'm embarrassed. I have not been able to figure it out. He's very honest about it.
Yeah, and you know what it takes sometimes, guys, to step up. That should be a block, I think. Right there, he's moving a little. I know the home fans aren't going to appreciate that one.
The officiating thing, yeah. Well, looked like he took his shoulder and drove it right into his chest.
Yeah, it could be, I guess. Yeah, Maureen moving a little bit too on the play.
Well, the officiating has been a very interesting topic here because of what happened up in Ames on Monday. The Big 12 made a statement about the officials in the game and what they felt were mistakes. Bill Self feels a statement like that isn't good. To bring those kinds of things out in the open, they should be left, he thought, maybe behind closed doors and internally.
Well, I mean, I understand it from a coaching perspective, but from my perspective on that, I don't have a problem with it, Kevin, because I think there's a tendency for people to think, well, let the players dictate the end of games.
Harris, McLemore.
And I just think overall, if you don't make a call on that play, and I thought that play was a charge, if you don't make that play, then you're taking that advantage away from the defensive player for making a good play. So I think you have to blow the whistle in the last second of a game or the first second of a game.
Rutledge picked up the foul. As Bill said, you know what, it can go both ways, too. There were more free throws taken by Iowa State in that game, as it turned out. And Kansas felt that there were not a lot of calls that went their way, but certainly down when it really mattered. Those are some very interesting calls made.
Exactly. And I'm kind of maybe old school on this one, but the conference, I think, by making a statement like that, I think is saying, I'm not so sure you have to penalize the officials. They're doing the best they can. But at least they're trying to make a statement that they want to make sure they get things right and consistent, which I don't have a problem with. I don't think many people would.
Jabari Hines. Another block for Withey.
Here we go again.
Johnson. Young. Out of bounds and off of West Virginia.
Well, they're trying to test the water down deep, and Withey is there and ready to go. He's in the pool and he's ready to play, I guess you could say.
He is also given, some wonderful perspective as a fifth-year senior. This is a guy who has seen a lot. He's been a part of the program, and his game is continually developed. And we told you before, the all-time leading shot blocker in conference history. McLemore for three.
Spreading it out. And because of his ability to find, look at this in the backcourt by himself.
Wow.
Young, nice job defensively. Look at this, here we go.
McLemore again held down by Rutledge. As Kansas is on a 20-6 run. They've done it with offense, but certainly defense has triggered a lot.
Yeah, seal the middle of the floor. The challenges, that one's on the transition. Withey goes to work. Young has been a factor again, double teaming right there. And they've just had the ability to trigger it from the defensive end.
McLemore has got the hot hand. 14 points for the Jayhawks, and Withey is closing it inside.
There's so much to like about this Buick LaCrosse. Sophisticated styling, fresh technology, and 36 MPG highway. Like my mom said the day I was born, wow, that's a lot more than I expected. If you don't know the luxurious yet fuel-efficient LaCrosse, you don't know Buick.
Lease this EPA-estimated 36 highway MPG LaCrosse with 2 years of scheduled maintenance for around $299 per month. Consider it a new lease on luxury.
McLemore 4-6 for Kansas.
And one of the things to watch right now is his ability to do a lot of different things. Watch this off the dribble, the pull-up jump shot. We've seen him over the top with the long-range jumper. He's got the entire package in terms of being able to play this game. And Bill Self very happy that he's starting to be a little bit more aggressive at the offensive end.
Well, he's really had a rough upbringing in St. Louis. There have been many stories over the last couple weeks in USA Today. The Newark paper said he was often hungry.
Yeah.
They didn't have a lot of heat in his home in St. Louis. There were a lot of nights where he went to bed cold and hungry. And he said, you know what? He says, I'm going to buy my family, and my mom, who, by the way, is still unemployed. I'm going to go out and buy my mom a big house, and we're going to stay in it, and we're going to eat all day long.
Beautiful.
You know, it's kind of poignant that he has come here to Kansas, a home away from home, and found this kind of success in a wonderful story he's been this year, and certainly especially with the tough upbringing. Tomorrow, ghost cities, miles and miles of empty towers, homes, and subdivisions. Is this the next housing bubble? Find out tomorrow on 60 Minutes, only on CBS. But, you know, when they used to have a thing called hardship when kids would leave college early.
Yeah, absolutely.
This would certainly qualify for that.
Clearly. And you know, it's difficult because unless you've lived in those types of shoes, very hard to put that into perspective.
Easy for us to read, but to live through it, you're right. Very tough. Staten, long two. And they keep it alive. 4.5 in the half.
West Virginia, #1 team in this conference with the offensive rebounding. Now they shoot 40%, maybe a reason.
Henderson has hit 3 threes from that exact same spot this afternoon. He puts in another triple. He's got 9. 28% shooting for West Virginia, 43% shooting for Kansas.
Yeah, Henderson had 17 against TCU recently, where he was shooting the basketball well from the three-point stripe.
McLemore, Withey, Johnson, Tharp, and down low Young. The Jayhawk 5 on the floor with just under 4 to play.
Thorpe does a good job, too, with this team, with his assist-to-turnover ratio.
On the move. Young, offensive rebound. Well, he's been playing well of late, too. Thorpe with a three.
I think Young is kind of the sleeper on this team, or the wild card sometimes. Not sleeper in a negative sense, but I think other teams go to sleep on him when he's very active on the glass. Played well at the beginning of the Iowa State game the other night.
Henderson the drive. Hey, but another block by Whiffy. McLemore's hand there. Thorpe, pedal to the metal.
West Virginia has to put the brakes on right now. Go neutral and slow this thing down, because the first 5-7 minutes, fans weren't really as active as they have been in the last 5 minutes.
Kansas grabbing this game by the throat, and they are squeezing.
You want to make sure, Kevin, that you go into this halftime break at around 10 or less. You don't want this to be 20 if you're Bob Huggins and company.
Rutledge. Oh, and a beautiful feed. And there they get finally the two. Kalichla coming up with the assist.
And that's usually one way to stymie it. Make sure that you're getting towards the middle of the floor. Even though you've been getting shots blocked, you must continue to attack. So a good response by West Virginia to get the ball down low.
Wow, these are good.
Fishy, fishy. Fish, fish, McBite, McBite. Fish, fish, McBite, McBite. Fish, fish, McBite, McBite. Fishy, fishy.
Fish McBites are succulent and breaded to perfection. So take a trip to Mickey D's and get your service.
Get hooked on McDonald's new Fish McBites. Pop them with tangy tartar or spicy buffalo sauce. Catch them while you can. More
Fishy, fishy.
to love.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You're watching NCAA basketball on CBS.
An heiress worth millions pays the ultimate price.
Spontaneous combustion.
A human candle.
This place gives me the creeps.
I'm inclined to agree. A new mentalist Sunday.
Monday on Dave. Don't miss Bruce Willis, Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model Kate Upton, and the top 10 signs you'd make a bad Pope.
Religion isn't really your thing.
Monday.
Bill Self with 8 Big 12 titles in 9 years, 1 national title, a run up to the national title, model of consistency, and he makes it fun for this team. In fact, going viral not too long ago, the Harlem Shake by KU's team.
They
do the Harlem Shake.
Well, here's some guys that can shake it up at the AT&T at the half from our CBS studios in New York. Greg Gumbel, Greg Anthony, Doug Gottlieb, and Seth Davis. For all the scores, news, and highlights, plus the latest NCAA tournament news, that's all coming up next on the AT&T report from our CBS studios in New York.
Hey, Kev, my personal thanks to Bill Self also, because I don't know if you noticed, that was me in the left-hand corner in the back.
I thought it was. I thought it was. You look good.
Thanks.
I did not know you
with the
could move
cowboy
like
hat
that.
on.
See, at Kansas, they do that stuff. At Duke, I didn't know that they did that kind
we
of stuff.
We try anything for a laugh.
Bill Self has said that the coaching at Kansas is like being a caretaker. He's just maintaining something so incredibly special.
At the line, shooting 1, Dominic Rutledge.
Rutledge at the free throw line for Tuesday on CBS. Television's newest police partners are back for another round. Don't miss the new drama Golden Boy Tuesday at 10, 9 Central only on CBS.
Yeah, pretty good answer so far. Now let's see what they do. West Virginia down the stretch. In the first game when these two teams met in Morgantown, the differential was 8 points, a +8 for Kansas. So I'm thinking that Bob Huggins would love to keep it around 8 or lower if he can get it there.
2.5 left. There's a turnover right there. McLemore maybe from behind. He did pick up a foul for KU. First on Ben McLemore. We're talking before about Bill Self. The highest and the best winning percentage of any coach in KU history. That's going to catch some people by surprise because the names that have come through Lawrence, not to mention Fogg Allen and James Naismith when it all began, Yeah, not too bad. Larry Brown and Ted Owens. I mean, you just go right on Dick Harper. I mean, all these different coaches. Roy Williams. it's been a litany of big names in the college game.
Yeah, AAA class.
Dayton hits the first.
Boy, check those names out, huh, Kevin?
Pretty phenomenal. But when you feel like you've got to be, like I said before, a caretaker and maintain something. I mean, you saw it with Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. He feels the same way, and certainly, obviously, the same aura here at Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the tradition breeds the pressure. Alumni, boosters, everybody, the eyeball is on you. So that's one of the things when you look at these guys like Coach K and Bill Self, the pressure's always on.
Elijah Johnson has just knocked down his second three this afternoon.
Yeah, and the crisscross teams are so much better in Kansas, being one of them, if you use both sides of the floor. What that means defensively is West Virginia has to go from side to side, a little bit more difficult to get to the good, pure range shooters.
West Virginia coming in 13-15, losing 3 in a row and 4 of 5. Kansas 24-4. 12-3 in conference play. They've won 5 consecutive games after a disheartening 3-game losing streak. Staten inside, trying to get over Whippy, and that is a tough chore. And a foul inside. That foul will go on Murray, who picks up his third.
Yeah, and you look at one side of the floor, it starts, and that allows you to step right into it. Johnson at 34%, but coming off that big game, and as I touched on earlier, you look for your point guard to really get into a position where he's confident, and he is.
You're trying to make things happen. You're going to overshoot the runway sometimes and gamble, and certainly now we have some foul issues for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, that's going to mount up, and probably in the second half more than anything, even though they've been sitting on the 10-team fouls right now, so Kansas at the line for a pair.
McLemore is up there, the top scoring freshman in the Big 12. He averages 16 points a game. You got to go back to when Danny Manning was here to find the all-time record for scoring average among freshmen. Manning averaged 14.6, and this guy is above that right now. In fact, Danny Manning's son is on the team, and his daughter is working for CBS this afternoon. So we've got all kinds of. Even though Danny is coaching down in Tulsa,
right?
Taylor is our stage worker here this afternoon, working the courtside booth.
We're doing our part, Danny.
Yeah, we are, Danny. He's down in Tulsa now, first time a head coach, and enjoying that after a wonderful run here with Bill Self in Kansas. Played under Larry Brown. The national championship in '88 for Danny Manning.
Here's their motion offense. West Virginia looking for down screens.
Kolichman. Good offensive rebound. They try to push it up inside.
And Rutledge just missing the handle on that follow-up. You know, Kolichman takes that shot, but it looks kind of crazy, but he has the ability to hit those shots.
Well, Kolichman, we mentioned before, from Istanbul, Turkey. At the high school in Beckley, West Virginia. Oh, here he comes! Oh, my goodness!
Boy, oh, boy, did he ever take the baseline.
McLemore. 19 points on only 7 shots. He brings them out of their chair as he was going sky high.
We are getting a perfect view of the finish by McLemore. The ability to fake the shot, put it on the deck and go after you on the rim. Great look by Whitney out front. Slow rotation in the finish. Just perfect as Kansas starts to stretch the lead again here on their home floor. Let's get it underway. Oh, the kid knocked out now. We've got some action. Oh, my. A huge upset finish. Good. My goodness.
Yep, there's a lot coming up, and it begins on March 17th with the Selection Sunday show at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Then to True TV just after that for analysis. And then what has become one of the nice things about this tournament, the first 4 on the Tuesday and the Wednesday as the tournament starts things off in Dayton.
The viewer gets their own remote control, and it's just an exciting time of the year. It's hard to believe it's here already, but let's strap it up and go for it again.
McLemore has taken over this game, and he just put an exclamation mark on that first half where he has scored from outside and from inside. And again, going back to something Jimmy mentioned, his scoring had been a little bit off and on here over the last handful of games. He's had 2 30-plus point games this season. One against Kansas State, 33 against Iowa State earlier in the season. But now today, he is really shifted into gear. Kolichla does the same thing against Withy inside for the Mountaineers.
And that's a nice timeout by Bob Huggins just then. He recognized with less than a minute, you never know what's going to happen. We cannot afford coming down and not getting a good shot and getting a scoring opportunity. So good work on the bench by Huggins and terrific execution by his team and Kolichla in particular.
Kansas is shooting 50%, and they've held West Virginia to 31% from the field. Kansas #1 in defensive field goal percentage. Well, this is the Kansas resume as we are approaching Selection Sunday.
And one of the things, too, I mean, it's a good resume, obviously, and you look at the strength of schedule at 9, but I think also there's that little cloud, a positive cloud over them. The last 5 that they've won, they're playing here on their home floor, so I think ultimately they're building that good, strong resume when it counts. In particular, people are starting to look around and say, uh-oh, you know, Kansas is back playing well. Kansas is going to be right there again.
And peaking is one of the toughest things to do for a coach and a team that after the 3-game losing streak and the 5 straight wins and playing the way they're playing and guys beginning to score the way they're scoring, it would seem as though they are an ascending, peaking team right now.
And to your point earlier, Kevin, I think with Bill Self's squad being as experienced as they are, with the seniors, they've been through a lot. They understand how to work together. I think that's very, very important. Quite candidly, that's why you see some of those quote-unquote mid-majors do so well over the years, because they have guys who played together for a period of time.
Difference of 4 seconds, game clock and shot clock. Young, Tharp with a 3. Good! Everything is dropping for KU. Staten, it would have counted had it gone in. So Nadir Tharp off the bench with a big 3 and a smile for Bill Self as he was outside, giving Kansas their biggest lead this afternoon.
Well, the work, right? Look at the passing. Nice little screen and handoff. Young, once again, a good handoff right there. Thorpe, as you mentioned, giving nice minutes here in the first half for Bill Self's team. Beautiful looking shot and a nice way to finish the half if you're Kansas on their home floor.
They finish on a 36-15 run. Indeed, a good way to finish for 6th-ranked Kansas by 14 at halftime as we take you to our CBS studios in Great Gumbel. CBS Sports College basketball coverage is sponsored by Cheez-It, because at Cheez-It, real cheese matters. By Avis. And by AT&T, rethink possible. Kansas has built that 24-4 record this season with some offense, but defense is their calling card.
It really is. And Kevin, one of the things that's impressive with this team, it's a lot of people talk about Withy, but the other guys on the floor focus very, very nicely in terms of the team defensive efforts they have. And when you take a look at the blocks, they've had 8 blocks in the first half, and Withy has had 4 of them, but Young has had 3. The ability to help one another, to drive the basketball to the middle of the floor. And you'll notice when one guy is missing, the other guy is right there to help him out. So terrific efforts. And that's why they lead the NCAA in defensive field goal position.
Let's take a look at our Applebee's first half statistics. You see the shooting, the 3 points, and the second chance points still in favor of West Virginia.
Yeah, they're getting enough opportunities off the offensive glass. And once again, West Virginia's a very good offensive rebounding team, had 10. And the free throw disparity, take a look at it, 14 for Kansas on the attempts.
And how about McLemore? He's getting to the line. He's shooting with accuracy outside, and 19 first half points for Kansas. And he is on target here today. Kolichla will get it. Here comes West Virginia. You saw those Applebee's stats. And West Virginia began the game 5 of 8, but since 6 of 27.
And they had a struggle coming down the last few minutes.
Nice pass. Humphrey had it rejected inside. Another block. Withy got a hand on it and a subsequent foul.
We've documented in the first half the foul trouble for West Virginia. They can't pile them up here in the second half and let Kansas be shooting the free throws. But look at the help again. Withy has that ability as a 7-footer to not plod, but to move and utilize effectively his steps to get in a position to, A, keep the body away from the offensive player, and then also be able to be long enough to get the blocks.
Humphrey picks up another foul. He's got 4.
And West Virginia pushing the tempo a little bit defensively right now. Let's see what they come up with. A little man-to-man extension, but it's not going to be a whole lot with Johnson handling the basketball against Staten.
Back in the first half, we talked about how Bob Huggins says he still has not found the right combination. A lot of guys seeing a lot of minutes, but he can't find the best 5 out there. Nice knock away defensively for Terry Henderson. But a foul on Young.
Yep. Over the top, little activity there by Young.
So here comes West Virginia, led by Jawan Staten. Marine out there, Kalichla. Here's one of the bright young players, Aaron Harris. And Henderson, the 5 out there for the Mountaineers. Rebound by Young out there with Withy. Johnson throws to McLemore. 2-on-2. Up and down. Count it.
Yeah,
McLemore, 21, Jim.
Yep, that was going to be goaltending anyway just then, but notice the way he glides. Here comes more of the glide up off the glass. Boy, he's terrific in the open floor, the half court. The jump shooting is just very, very smooth and efficient, especially in that first half, Kevin.
He's the first Kansas freshman to ever have 2 30-point games in conference play. He's got 2, and he's hovering over a third right here. Another block inside.
Boy, the party is continuing.
Henderson, that's a 3. And again on the right side, right of the circle, has been a nice place for him to fire.
Yeah, 3 for 3 in that first half. Really smooth with his shot. At the next 3 or 4 minutes, really, if West Virginia has to continue to play solid basketball, not let it get out of control.
Kalichla getting in front of Withy right there. So they got Henderson, a freshman. Bob Huggins has Harris, a freshman. So it bodes well for what's to come for this program.
And it's the all-important learning curve and a tough road victory like we have here this afternoon to get one.
West Virginia, 17 years in the Big East. First year in the Big 12. A shove and a foul, and it was away from the ball. And it goes on Kansas, and it was on Kevin Young. Number 2.
Effort defensively by West Virginia, coming around the screen, right? Instead of he splits it. And that's a good call from the officials, because a lot of times you either go over the top, which is closest to the ball side, or you trail from behind. Cutter goes through. He went through also.
Staten, wild looking pass. Young, Johnson, trailed by Harris. Yeah, they got back.
Yeah, what threw Johnson off just then, Kevin, was the lob pass, right? It wasn't a snap pass. He was like, come on, come down. Get down here so I can go with it.
Bob Huggins is coaching here before with his Kansas State team. Harris thought he was fouled from behind a miss right there. And Elijah Johnson. They have not needed his scoring today. They've got it from McLemore with 21, and Johnson's coming off a 39-point wonderful game on Monday. One of the best this season in all of college basketball. They've got a couple baskets in. Withy from outside watches it drop.
Yeah, I don't think, Kevin, this team wins with Johnson with the scoring that much. You know, that was just an aberration in terms of what he did. He really didn't take that many shots all season long. It was just working for him. I think Bill Self wants the balance and wants his confidence in running the show.
Johnson's got 6. Withy, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 6 blocks. Oh, what a pass. Kalichla, and flying off the baseline, Aaron Harris.
Kalichla is an interesting guy. At his size, he has the ability to shoot that ball from 15, 17. We've seen the jump hook. Watch the beautiful little bounce pass right here on the backdoor cut. Because he has Withy out at the top of the key almost, there aren't any shot blockers or the true shot blocker waiting underneath the basket.
A lot of these European big men are very good passers.
Yes, they sure are.
He's fast in both Turkey.
Yeah, and skilled from the fundamentals at an early age.
McLemore to Young. Climbing the ladder. Kevin Young.
Well, if you don't keep your eye on Kevin Young, he will silently put you away. And that was making a little noise, that one.
Henderson a 3. Again, he puts it in. Henderson has belted 5 from beyond the arc this afternoon. 5 of 5.
Yeah, well, with his 11 starts this year, he's been able to go double figures in 7 games, so he can put the points up in a hurry.
McLemore lost it. but he didn't moments ago with a beautiful pass.
Yeah, you look at the timing of this play just perfectly. They go away to the top of the key area, and then it's a diagonal upstairs for Young to finish it off. Well-executed play.
West Virginia 2 games below 500, battling number 6 Kansas. Timeout.
The spicy popcorn chicken is so great,
I
right?
know. My sweet potato tots are so much fun. You can kind of play with them if you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Without having to worry about what your mom says.
But you should call her and tell her you're playing with your food and everything's fine.
You know what? You are right. I am going to call her right now.
Do it.
Hello, Mom? I'm a man, and if I want to play with my food, then I'm gonna.
Good for you.
Absolutely. I have to go home. I'm grounded.
Get poppin' with spicy jumbo popcorn chicken and perfectly poppable sweet potato tots. This is how you Sonic.
What's better, doing 2 things at once or just one?
Two!
You sure?
I am absolutely positive. 2 times is awesome. The thing I can do is wave my head and wave.
That's amazing. I've never seen anything like that.
Look, I can do it.
Hold on, I'm watching this.
I'm getting dizzy.
It's not complicated. Doing 2 things at once is better. And only AT&T's network lets you talk and surf on your iPhone 5.
Couple headliners for Kansas, Withy the senior and Macklemore the freshman.
Yeah, a little luggage tag is part of the marketing for Macklemore and the block party. You get invited to the block party by Mr. Withy. And you take a look at the numbers right there. Macklemore 21 on 6 of 8, very efficient. Points 8 and 6 big blocks for Withy again. And all this time I've been using the Kevin Harlan luggage tag, and it's just not getting me anywhere.
Well, I could have told you that.
Well, we have a seat for you way in the back.
Yes. It's called steerage. You'll enjoy it. The middle seat. Bob Huggins with a long visit with his teams. There was a nice little note. We get these from all the different schools and the reporters that cover them. But if he beats Kansas today in the regular season, this is part of his contract, he gets $25,000. I've not heard of that before, but there's a clause that says if he beats Kansas in the regular season, he gets that kind of bonus. Wow. That's what they think of Kansas.
It's only your per diem.
And then Kalichlo into Withy and off to Noreen. It was another nice pass.
Yep, sure was. He puts it on the floor also. One thing I didn't mention that last trip, the ability to put it down, force guys to rotate a little bit. They continue to hang, though, don't they?
Looks like he's watched a lot of tape of the great Sabonis, who is a terrific passer.
Great point. Better perimeter. Kalichlo and Withy one-on-one down deep.
Elijah Johnson, Relaford, Withy.
See
what rhythm?
Yeah,
what rhythm?
Good word, and goes from left side of the floor to the right, and the delivery because of the rotation, a touch late by Kalichlo just then. Terrific entry pass, but boy, you're right about rhythm and timing. That's what half-court sets are all about. Whoa, can't do that.
Nope. Henderson. CBS Sports coverage of NCAA men's basketball will continue after this message and a word from your local CBS station.
Do the Rangers have a winning clubhouse chemistry? Sunday on The Score.
Well, the NCAA holds a mock selection process for select media. In fact, our producer Steve Shear was a part of this. And here are some of the typical things they've got to make a decision on if you were a committee member. So here, Mr. Spinarco, we present to you which of these 3 teams would get in.
Okay, I know your eye goes from left to right, but I'm going to go from right to left here with Team C. I'm going to eliminate them on this issue right here, Kevin, because of their strength of schedule at 138. Everything else on paper looks pretty close. To me, I'm going to go with Team A on this one today because of the RPI and the 5-7 road record. So what does it all mean?
Well, there's Virginia right there, 20-8. So you just knocked out Virginia.
Didn't they just beat my alma mater? I didn't know that was the name, by the way, too. But that just highlights the difficulty of putting it all together in the crunch time in terms of trying to figure it all out.
But it's fun to look at the numbers and to give you a feel of just how difficult it is to pick the right group. You speak about Duke losing. Indiana lost this week. Duke, Michigan, Florida. There was some significant movement among the top teams in college basketball.
And the Zags continue to shine well out on the left side of the coast, don't they?
Yep, they do. But they they've got to win out. They're a team that, because of the remaining schedule they got and the kind of teams they play, they lose, they're gonna really stumble.
Yeah, I agree with you. Upstairs, Kev.
Here we go! Once again, McLemore up high and down hard with 23.
Boy,
he elevates, my goodness.
He sure does. He gets up there in a hurry.
Staten to Kolichla. Kansas with their starting 5 still on the floor. Withy will follow Kolichla with another block right there.
Nice.
He's got 7.
That was a much better outlet pass, just off target a little bit because it was a line drive rather than a floater.
He might get that triple-double, which he had earlier against San Jose State earlier in the season.
I guess we talked about the luggage tags a moment. Here is Ben Air right here. Bang. Good across over the top. You get tucked in behind the screen by Young. Terrific delivery after a timeout by Kansas and Bill Self.
Elijah Johnson.
Had a layup.
A triple. McLemore.
Kevin, if this guy plays like this, they're going to have a tough time in this NCAA tournament stopping this team.
Well, Bill Self says he hasn't had a brighter star among the ones he's recruited than this kid. Oh, nice crossover right there by Staten. But he can't get it. McLemore's off to the races.
Here come the numbers again.
Here he comes, and off to Young. They are buzzsawing the Mountaineers.
They have been selectively running the core, and they are doing it well.
Well, there are some teams on the bubble that need some good things to happen here in the next week and a half.
Well, they sure do. And you look at some of these teams, you know, it's Nova kind of coming on a little bit at the end. Once they start to turn the corner, though, sometimes they turn the other corner and have had some problems with that. Baylor needs to finish up strong also, I think, to make a little bit of noise coming down the stretch.
What incredible efficiency by Kansas this afternoon. 18 assists on 21 made baskets, and McLemore epitomizing that more than anyone. In 10 shots, he's made 24 points. That is off the charts.
Exactly. Just a great team basketball. And just getting back to that Baylor point a second, Kev, they'll also have Kansas State and Kansas on their schedule coming down the stretch. So obviously they have to make some hay to do well in terms of taking a look.
McLemore defending right here, and Kolichla finds a double, makes the steal. Oh, right across the chops. Murray was just reaching for the ball, an inadvertent lunge.
Yep, exactly. And it's the right call. And one of the things, too, how about the double team down low again by Kansas? This is a team that's running on all cylinders right now on their home floor. And once again, the home floor is a different place. When you're playing as a guy, you get this like sense of, I can just do anything I want, especially when you're playing with a big lead and you have the fans behind you. So right now is the time I'd be real concerned if I were West Virginia to make sure Kansas really, really doesn't come after it for the next 5 minutes.
9-0 run right now by the Jayhawks, limiting West Virginia to 33%. Wow. Relaford. Elijah Johnson got a Young screen, a little pick and roll possibility right there. McLemore 26 points, 26 this afternoon.
And if we had the efficiency numbers, wow, we'd be really giving him high grades on just about everything he's done in terms of attacking the rim. But it's more than that. It's his ability to really play it under control. Nice cut by Young on the baseline. They missed him.
With the screen for Elijah Johnson. So now everything beginning to drop for Kansas.
You put talent and confidence together, Kevin, and a team that is willing to play with energy and be unselfish. All those things start to add up to a team that may just very well make a good run.
Johnson with 3 threes. There's block number 8 for Withy. Withy, 8 rebounds, 10 points, 8 blocks.
Earlier in the year, he went for 12 against San Jose State. He's only had 2 games this season where he failed to block a shot, but this has been a showcase from the defensive standpoint.
Here's Eric Murray. He'll put that in as Perry Ellis has checked in for Kevin Young for Kansas.
And just when you think West Virginia, you think you're going to have a shot down deep and go into the basket. Withy appears from nowhere. There he is, good solid post up.
Boy, 12.
Are we inching towards a triple-double rather, Kev?
He's been phenomenal. One already this season. He's got 11 double-doubles. Murray with another long shot. Picked up by Elijah Johnson. Oh, he's got McLemore on the wing.
Wow, what a decision.
This kid, he's sensational. He is absolutely sensational.
Excuse me for bringing up the fact that he only went for less than double digits 2 out of the last 3 games, because he is really putting on a show.
Kalichla, treble. McLemore with 28 points. He has been the Kansas assassin this afternoon. Zeroing in on win number 25, number 23, enjoying his afternoon in Lawrence. CBS Sports College basketball coverage is sponsored by the new Buick Enclave. It's smart, made beautiful. By LG, life's good. And by Coca-Cola. Open a Coke and enjoy the game. The Jayhawks are running away from the Mountaineers here in Lawrence this afternoon, 67-43. Taking a look now at the AT&T Fast Analysis.
And we've spoken a lot about the offense, but let's take a look at their defense and analyze a little bit what they're doing. West Virginia's going to try to get to the post, which is a good idea, but nothing is really going to happen because the double team is going to come right on the blocks. And so here's the entry pass, double team. Boom, and now you need a second guy. McLemore is going to step in to the left side here and make a defensive play. So you have a double team down on the blocks. And where's the next pass going to go? The next pass is going to go out to the wing, and McLemore steps right in. Great defensive effort.
Well, in the last 20 minutes of the game, McLemore has put in 26. West Virginia has put in 27. Gives you an idea of just how dominant the freshman Jayhawk has been here this afternoon. Under 12 to play now in the second half in Lawrence.
Big spread right now, a little weave out front. And McLemore coming off some screens.
McLemore. Wow. Oh, does he have the stroke?
Kevin, when I'm watching a guy like that, from a former player's perspective, you try to say, well, what would you do differently to stop him? Well, first of all, I've held guys to 50, so I don't really know. But seriously, he's got all the tools. So you try to keep the ball out of his hands, but they're running nice delayed cuts for him. So, and he comes across and he's just so unselfish the way he plays.
31 now, third 30-point game this season for him in conference play.
Turning to the West Virginia line.
His high is 33 against Iowa State. And the sad thing is that in all likelihood this may be his only season in college, because it is a joy to watch a player this wonderful. And Bill Self has said it. He said, I haven't had a lot of kids like this, if any.
Right.
And he's had some pretty good players here.
He sure has. But he's the type of guy that doesn't take much to figure out that he's pretty good.
Withy. Well, there are about 16,000 in the building that would hope that maybe he would consider things. Monday, Dave's got Bruce Willis and Kate Upton, and later this week, catch Jennifer Lawrence plus Melissa McCarthy, followed by Craig Ferguson. Only on CBS, and Eric Murray is gone. Tough one for Bob Huggins. Bob Huggins struggling through this season. It's been 10 years since West Virginia last finished a season with more losses than wins. It gives you an idea of just how good they've been and for how long they've been that good. One season like this, it'll be their first in a decade with a losing year if they would continue, of course, on this way. They'll be 3 games below 500.
And very difficult to put the pieces together of this puzzle for Bob Huggins. And there are times, though, the energy level is pretty good and just can't seem to get the chemistry on the offensive end of the floor.
Barry Ellis. On the drive right here by the Mountaineers, Jabari Hines, and a foul called on Kansas. It goes on Johnson. The last time Bob Huggins lost 16 games was his very first year in his very first head coaching job at Walsh. Back in 80-81, they went 14-16. If he loses today, it'll be loss number 16. But there is, you know, you got to search high and wide to find a guy as decorated as Huggins is in terms of what he's done as a head coach, and they will come back. They always do.
Upstairs again.
Rutherford from Johnson. Well, they're playing just in the flow of the game. It's so beautiful to watch the way Kansas has constructed this game. 29-point lead. Biggest today. Sharp is in the game now, the front of the defense. Traylor is in there trying to defend. They scoop it. And a foul, and maneuvering inside is Dominic Rutledge.
The ability to run the floor is one thing, Kevin, but the way they run it, they generally have very good spacing. And Johnson with the little touch pass, a little teardrop pass. And boy, they know how to get up and down the floor. I love teams. A lot of times teams will run the floor and you'll have 3-on-2s, but the guard will have the ball in the middle of the floor, and the two wing guys will be right on his right and left hip respectively, and you have no spacing on the floor.
Right.
But Kansas really spaces it so well when they're running at full throttle. And the key to that is to make sure as you're one of the wing guys is don't run straight unless you're ahead of the pack, but to flare out as you're running, so it's kind of a half of a C curve, if you will.
And when you're playing free and easy, and certainly with the lead you can play that way, but when you're playing at home like that, all those things become so obvious. And then the spacing thing, even in the pros, a very tough thing for players to grasp.
It sure is. It sure is, because a lot of times, especially with the younger players these days, it's a lot of it is one-on-one type of playing. They don't understand the true aspects of the team. So when these coaches get the AAU-type players to come in, it's one thing to have talent, but then how do you mesh it into what's going to be successful for an NCAA run?
A lot of the AAU guys, you know, they're playing so many games in one day, and a lot of it is so individually based, like you're exactly what you're talking about. The team concept really didn't come to play.
Exactly. Whereas in the old days, high school basketball, the high school coach, and not AAU, was much more important in terms of team chemistry.
Nine and a half to play in regulation. Noreen to Rutledge, and a foul over the top was Traylor. And count the 2 right there, and 7 now for Rutledge. Hey, tomorrow on CBS, the Amazing Race heads to New Zealand. Could this be the last leg of the race for a desperately injured team? The new Amazing Race, it's tomorrow, and it's only on CBS. We talk about players learning and feeling comfortable. You know, Bill Self of Kansas, who's 50, you know, in his 10th year, and he's got a lot of games to coach still, but he says, even now I find myself being more patient. I have a better understanding of the big picture, and I think that's probably the natural maturation for a coach.
Yeah, and I think what comes with that is that word communication, and if you have communication at any level, I think you're just going to be better off, and if you're willing to take the time to communicate to your players.
Traylor, freshman, redshirt. Rutledge got it. 31 years, Bob Huggins has been a head coach. So he has seen a lot, he has done a lot, and he has still more to do. And he will. Elijah Johnson. Ooh. Head over heels inside. Just under 9 to play here in Allen Fieldhouse. The 196th consecutive sellout here at Allen.
And a little out of control going towards that ball, but you know, we talked about communication with Bill Self. Recently, him and Johnson got into a discussion, and Johnson was talking about he made a mistake. He goes over to speak to Bill Self, and he says, "Coach, let's forget about it, move on. Let's move on to the next play."
That's what you always say.
Yeah, you're always telling me to do that. And Self said to him, "We will move on after I'm finished talking about what just happened. Then we can move on." I thought that was a great exchange.
It was.
And now they're back on the same page.
Well, Elijah Johnson had that wonderful 39-point performance Monday up in Ames, Iowa. I mean, everything was dropping, and he single-handedly was doing the damage. Rutledge again with a nice whirling move inside. Bill Self had said a couple weeks ago, after a loss in this building by 5 points to Oklahoma State, he said, we really don't have a point guard at Kansas. And it's almost from that time on that Johnson has really kind of fortified himself and played well. Had the 20 minutes in the last 5.5, 20 points in the last 5.5 minutes of that game at Iowa State. And they asked him after the game, you know, what was it like? Were you getting a lot of calls from friends? He said, well, the most important call I got was from my dad. He said, my dad reads me like no other person, and that meant the most to me.
Wow. Great story.
Yeah. Noreen. McLemore. Up. Young. Trailer with the assist.
Yeah, this is working at all aspects of it. The unselfish play of this team, once again, we've seen on breakaways where guys could have taken layups and shots, but have passed it up, and they're passing up to lob dunks.
Henderson the three. He's had success beyond the arc this afternoon. 7.5 to play. Rutledge again trying to drive and pierce his way into the paint. Well, Ben McLemore has grabbed the headlines here. The freshman from St. Louis has scored every conceivable way. A litany of big plays in a big afternoon for Kansas. Well, 59% shooting for Kansas. McLemore 31, third 30-point game he's had as a freshman. Everything falling into place for the Jayhawks today.
And we have, it's for sure, we've seen everything they have to throw at West Virginia. You know, they've balanced it with defensive efforts, the block shots with a team number 12 right now. Just terrific from that standpoint. 8 for Withy. Just everything working in the right direction.
As we said, Kansas heating up at the right time. Rutledge is at the line for West Virginia. Jayhawks winning 5 consecutive games coming into this afternoon. You know, so much is made of the tournament, but a lot of these coaches, and I just talked to Tom Izzo of Michigan State a couple of weeks ago, as he always has put great, you know, effort and what they do in conference play. Bill Self does as well. And Kansas, if they go on to win, will win their 9th consecutive conference title. They have the tiebreaker against much improving and a very good Kansas State team over in Manhattan. But you have to go back to the UCLA days of John Wood to find a team from a major conference to have that string of success winning conference basketball.
Yeah, and I think that the key component there is the major conference, right? It's not like it's a lower tier. This is basketball big time. Woo! That's big time, isn't it?
That's about as big a time. I don't know if there's a freshman right now playing better basketball than this kid.
I don't know if you can play basketball better than him right now. In this one game, if you isolate this is, forget about freshmen. This is anybody in the country. No back door, nobody home.
34 for McLemore. Here comes Tharp. Relaford. Harris. And they go back inside, and they find a quick 2 right there with Dominique Rutledge.
Yeah, the one thing about West Virginia, even though, Kevin, they've been down as much as they have been here in the second half, still showing a little bit of fight. There's no quit. The energy level pretty good.
Huggins said coming into the season, I thought I had enough talent coming back. And even though they lost guys like Evan Jones and Truck Bryant, he said, I never saw it coming. So the standings in the conference, and Kansas will notch their 25th overall win, their 13th conference win. Iowa State had a tough loss today. They lost to Kansas earlier in the week. And Iowa State might be on that bubble.
Yeah.
But boy, they've got some shooters up there, and I think there are good days ahead for still the Cyclones in this season. Kansas State obviously having a terrific year. With the first-year head coach, Bruce Weber, left Illinois. Actually, he took Bill Self's place at Illinois. When Bill came to Kansas, as West Virginia turns it over right there. And then you got Lon Kruger down at Oklahoma. He coached at Illinois. So the Illini have spun off some pretty good ones. And like we said, Weber doing a wonderful job over in Manhattan. Under 6 to play.
And this will be interesting too, Kevin, with such a big lead. We've seen them play solid basketball. They didn't hit the shot clock, but they got plenty of time to shoot.
Guess who?
was almost going to say, forget about that, right? A little 10-foot baseline shot after a breakdown.
Career high 36 for freshman Ben McLemore.
How long does he let him run, though, is the question.
Well, I think it's going to end here in just a second.
That's a good call. Withy blocked that shot, Kev. Up high, but there was a little bit of a push down low before he got to it. Good work from the officials. Watch down low if we can catch it. Right there, arm, and a good block. That's one of those when people in the halfway up in the building, they're looking down on the play. They say, hey, that was a good block. We could see the hand on ball, but they don't see the angle from below and see the push from behind.
Yeah, just going to bring in some new players. Justin Wesley will come in, a junior from Fort Worth. There goes Young. And from 36 points to the bench for Ben McLemore with a standing ovation. When they get on their feet here in Lawrence, it means something. A lot of great players have played inside this building. A lot of them. Just breaking Danny Manning's freshman record.
That was relatively impressive, I'd say, don't you think?
You almost feel gratified that you were here.
Whew.
Here to see something like that.
My goodness. And I think that's smart, don't you think, by Bill Self?
Sure. He's accomplished what he needs to accomplish.
Let's make sure nobody gets injured.
Like we said before, you want to peak at the right time, and it would seem that guy with the ball moments ago, Elijah Johnson with 39, the kid today, 36. McLemore.
Yeah.
They're getting the kind of performances they need when you start to tighten the screws, getting toward tournament time, and this there by Rutherford.
And you know, Kev, to add to that, they're the best defensive team in the country when it comes to field goal percentage, right? So that travels. We know that'll be consistent at the defensive end of the floor, especially with Withy patrolling down there. So offensively, if they can keep this uptick, they're looking for him to dunk on the breakaway.
Everything else has been working. Johnson, Withy.
Yeah, this is just an example of a team on their home floor with the big lead, the fans. They're just having fun, and unfortunately somebody has to be on the downside of this, and it's Bob Huggins in West Virginia.
Withy with another block. He's got 10. Inside, they couldn't throw it down with Rutledge. Withy's got the triple-double. A second triple-double this season. Henderson with the 3. Oh, my gosh.
Uh-oh, upstairs
Johnson!
Again. Where are they coming from?
The rafters!
Are they going from the floor up or from the ceiling down here?
Wow.
I didn't think there was enough room to squeeze this one out, and he finishes it off.
Whether you see it with a big lead or in a tight game, the circus is on display in Lawrence.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, a landslide will bring it down.
The Lexus Command Performance Sales Event has begun. Featuring the Lexus GS and IS performance lines. Because control is the ultimate expression of power. Get great values on your favorite Lexus models during the Command Performance Sales Event. This is the pursuit of perfection.
Hey, what are those?
McDonald's new Fish McBites. Fishy, fishy. Fish, fish, McBites, McBites. Fish, fish, McBites, McBites. Fishy, fishy.
Fish McBites are succulent and breaded to perfection. So take a trip to Mickey D's and get your
The delicious Alaskan pollock fish you love, only smaller. New Fish McBites, only at McDonald's.
Unlike us, they're not going to hang around for long.
More fish fun to love.
Coming up next on CBS, the Kentucky Wildcats will take on the Arkansas Razorbacks down in Fayetteville. It's an SEC showdown. It comes your way next on CBS. Will Kentucky make it in the tournament after winning the national championship?
Well, I think they still right now slide in with this profile that they have. But obviously that game coming up is going to be a good one because Arkansas has a solid basketball team. And keep in mind, Kentucky also has to play Florida. So right now, yes, but they have some work to do.
Well, to the groans of the crowd, they have taken a block away from Withey, so he still is just one block away from a triple-double. He has the 10 rebounds coupled with the 14 points. They initially gave him on our computer screen here 10. They took one away, so now he's at 9. And trying for his second triple-double of the season.
And the question becomes, how long does he stay on the floor?
Yep. Andrew White will check in. There goes, well, I guess they answered the play. Yep, he's gone. So 9 blocks in what was a one-man wrecking crew of a defense inside for Kansas this afternoon. Rio Adams has come in. Danny Manning's son Evan is in the game. So Wesley, Rio Adams, Tharp there for KU. Andrew White is out there. He's a freshman from Chester, Virginia. That was the most points by a West Virginia opponent this season.
You know, it was a weird concept I just had in my mind.
What's that?
The fans were saying they want, and I thought they were saying Harlan as an alum here. Is that a possibility?
No. I guarantee you they weren't saying that. In fact, they try to hide my diploma. Unlike Duke, for you, it's prominently displayed.
I have a copy in my wallet. You want to see it?
No, I know you do. White. Picked up by Gary Brown. And now the Jayhawks have this left on their schedule for the rest of the way, including the Big 12 tournament, where they've got a first-round bye.
So things are shaping up. Nothing's easy with Texas Tech and Baylor, obviously, with those records, though, but positioned fairly well. And on an afternoon like this, nobody wants to get in their way or get on their schedule.
Well, as we wrap up West Virginia, where are they right now? Where do you see them, and what have they learned here as the season has evolved? And West Virginia, a team which is going to lose again today. It'll be their 4th consecutive loss.
Well, I mean, you don't, let's face it, you don't take too many good things out of this. You know, I thought the good thing happened early for them, the ability to hang with Kansas for at least that first half until the last 2 minutes, and then they went down 14. So they played a decent first half. I think just overall, you know, it's just too many guns and too many weapons. You know, we look at Kansas all afternoon defensively. Withey has been there, as you touched on, with the 9. And McLemore, what a combination. One at the defensive end of the floor. And Withey, the other side, offensively, just a great show.
We're talking a lot about Bill Self, but Bob Huggins is 1 win away from tying the legendary Ray Meyer for number 18 in all-time wins. Is this guy right here, folks, has won 724 games, 20th coach with 700 wins. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer someday. And, but he says, and I'm sure the program feels, there's a lot more basketball to be coached. Got a couple freshmen that have seen a lot of minutes today in this season, and better days are to come for a team like we mentioned earlier. It was in the Final Four just 3 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's going to question that West Virginia will put this back together. Again, they have the basis for it with a couple of young players.
We've got a lot of the kids off the bench. There's another player on the bench, too. Tyler Self, who is Bill's son, is a walk-on on this team. He's played 7 games. And we talked to Bill not too long ago about that. And he said, you know what the best thing about this season for me truly has been from a personal standpoint? He says, you know, as a coach, I'm recruiting, I'm teaching all the time with practice and games. And sometimes I didn't see my family as much as I wanted to. But I see Tyler every day in practice. He said that has been one of the hidden jewels of this season.
Yeah, and I bet there's no way of putting a price tag on that, right?
Yep. And he knows it. All right, tomorrow at noon Eastern on the CBS Sports Spectacular, Top Riders Bump and Run at the Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM championship. Then at 1 Eastern, the world's best bull riders and the toughest bulls hit it off in a March Madness-style event. Check out the Elite 8 and Final 4 at the Dickies Iron Cowboys, presented by WinStar World Casino. We'll be watching. We hope you do, too. Well, I know Jim will be. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My day planner by Mr. Harlan.
I looked at it beforehand. I had to. I like this Aaron Harris of West Virginia. You know?
I do too. I do too. And he's gutsy. You know, he's not afraid to take a big shot. Not afraid to play with anyone and go after you.
Rio Adams. Wow, and I think that it was knocked in by a Mountaineer. Now, did I see that correctly?
Maybe White will get that bucket possibly.
Henderson maybe.
Okay.
White will get it, but Henderson knocked it in. And now we're going to have even some more kid, and then Bill's son's going to check in here, which will be nice, especially on national TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill's got a big smile on his face right now.
Father and not, Kevin.
Yeah,
like
I know.
If
Come
I'm
on,
the kid, hey, Dad.
Is this great? Yeah.
Let's get with the program here.
I've only played 7 times.
That's it.
There's Evan Manning missing from outside. Henderson off to Harris. Adams.
Oh, that would have gone. That's a goaltending call. Shot goes in.
So now they go to Christian Garrett, who's from Los Angeles, and Tyler Self. Of course, most people know that Bill played down at Oklahoma State. Paul Hansen, who he says is one of the real important guys in his life, influences the way he coaches and runs his program. And for these kids, what a thrill.
Oh,
what a thrill.
Nothing like it. And you know what? These guys play hard in practice every single day.
Now Rutledge will take it inside. Marine has it. And Roberts. His dad is an assistant coach on this team. Nico Roberts.
Yep.
Norm is his dad.
Class act.
Yes. Great staff.
Yep.
And sometimes, with the drive there by Adams, sometimes we don't think about a staff that a coach puts together. But if you talk to head coaches or guys that have been head coaches, they will tell you that might be as important a thing as they do is putting together their staff.
Well, and especially when you, like in yesterday's practice, Norm is running a certain strategy, what West Virginia is running. So he has the job of scouting West Virginia and then coming on and taking the scout team to run through the plays. And you know this guy has been a head coach. He basically has the confidence in what he's doing, and it's just a terrific staff that they've put together.
Rio Adams from Seattle, Washington, played at Rainier Beach High School, which has turned out some wonderful players. And Evan Manning in there digging away. And out of bounds and off of West Virginia. Well, we talked about this in the first half, about the long trip this team has got to make to come just into the Big 12. And it's, you know, part of the realignment of college basketball, college football, the landscape of college sports. And I think there are more changes ahead.
And Bob Huggins, to that point, Kevin, was not talking about shot there by Adams. Wasn't making excuses. So this was not an excuse, but he said, with the travel back and forth, you get in later, a couple hours, time zones, kids have to get back up. You get in at 4 in the morning, kid has to get up and go to a 9:30, 10 o'clock class. You have them come back for practice at 2:30. Not a whole lot of time for preparation, so he had to pull back the throttle a little bit to keep his legs, for his team's legs strong.
Nice little runner put up right there by Terry Henderson, another freshman on this team. And you know what they say is that this the practice time becomes more and more precious as the season goes on. These coaches always looking for that. But Kansas didn't have to look very far today. They got it from McLemore with a superb game. And Withy, who just came one block shy of a triple-double. How about that? Evan Manning, the son of former KU assistant and basketball great Danny Manning, putting in a nice shot and tying a bow on a 91-62 Kansas win. McLemore had 36. Withy had 14. Henderson puts in a 3. He's had a bunch this afternoon. And Henderson finishes with his 6th 3 and 17 points. For Jim Spinarco, Kevin Harlan saying so long from Lawrence. Coming up next, the road to the Final Four continues. Game 3 of our triple-header. The Kentucky Wildcats and the Arkansas Razorbacks. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports. the home of the 2013 Men's National Championship. Good night from Lawrence.
What makes Big 12 men's basketball stand out? Nationally ranked teams every week since the league began in 1996. More consensus All-Americans than any conference the last 6 seasons. Leading the nation in NBA draft picks since 2008. The best winning percentage in NCAA play the past 5 years. That's why we're standing together for Big 12 men's basketball.